All right, we have a friend that wrote to say that the card reader is not advancing properly on their Passap machine Deco arrangement. Now, we're going to go through the regular procedure. This is clamped onto the bed like it's supposed to be.
It's pretend clamped onto the bed.
Well, we're pretending.
Yeah.
All right, this lever goes forward, and then you can feed a card into the machine. Now, I'm going to back up and undo that manually. And here's what I want you to see. When you push that lever, did you see this piece come up? Do I need to do it again?
We saw.
Okay, this is what the card, the Deco attachment to the lock catches when it comes across. And when it comes across, it advances the card reader. See it? Can you see that? See the wheel right there?
Yeah, and the little knobs on the wheel go into the holes on the card. So they move it every so often. You set it for a certain setting. It can be every 2 rows or every 4.
Right. Now, this should pop back into place. This one's a little stiff, so it needs lubricating. But if you'll notice, this piece stays up the entire time. Now, if you send that back down, that's what brings your feelers away from the card. See how they go into the card when we flip the lever, and when that drops back down, that's when they come away from the card. So we're going to review one more time. To load a card, you push this lever forward, this white piece comes up to accept the advance pawl, and all these little fingers go up against the card that they're reading, and this little piece pops up. What I understand from our friend is this little piece is not staying up, and so what happens when it goes down? All the reader fingers move away from the card, and it can't read the pattern on the card. So he's saying that every time he has to flip this lever to put these back against the card. So what we're thinking is there's a lubrication problem in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip the cover off, and we'll look at that. All right, what we've done is we've slipped the Deco reader out of the casing. Notice that the fingers stay with the casing, and the actual advance mechanism comes with the card advance mechanism and the card holders. Now,
this camera is really good. I can clearly see the rust.
Oh yeah, I was going to say we took apart a Deco that you were not using.
Yeah, it's old and it has
old and it's been around a while. Now,
a crack in its housing. That's why it was put out to pasture.
Now this is one of the things that we were talking about, is this lever that comes through this hole when the Deco is in properly assembled. And I want you to see, I'm going to use a screwdriver, this is the spring for that. It's just a little plastic tab.
I'm zooming. Ooh, look at that dust in there.
Now, don't look at the dust, look at this little plastic lever.
I can't find the plastic lever. Ah, got it.
Okay,
I see what he means, the whole big U-shaped thing. Well, at least
this is the piece we're talking about, and one end of it goes under this.
Right, but this, okay, that's it.
There it is right there. This is what I'm trying to tell you. That will
I guess
flip.
it's J-shaped, actually, when it comes right down to
But
it.
you see, that will flip out of place, and you will think, oh, well, how am I supposed to put it back together? What you do is pick this up, flex it in.
We can't see it all. Can you do that from another angle? Your fingers
All
were
right,
totally in the way.
We're going to try it again. To get it back into place, we lift, we flex that in.
Ah, now I can see.
We go around the white piece, and there we are.
So that could be one reason it wouldn't advance, right?
That could be one of the reasons. If that got flipped, you see, it can't go in this way and work properly.
And you'd break it trying to force it, I think.
Right, so we lift it, we flex this in around the white piece, and now we're back in condition. We have to make sure this is in place when we go to reassemble. Now, look at what we found when we took this apart. This is the return spring for this advanced mechanism. So the reader comes across, that's attached to the lock, and it lifts this, that advances our card, and then this is supposed to go back down for the next row. This spring hooks here, and the other end of the spring hooks into this little circle right here that you see a broken spot in.
We sure do.
All right, so that can be repaired, but you see if that was in place, what happens? That's where that sits.
So another reason for failure to advance in a deco that basically does work would be that spring broken or displaced or missing or in
Right.
bad shape.
That's right, because, all right, now we raise this up to put the card in. If it were in the casing, this would lock into place and hold it up, and then we're ready for the advance mechanism, and you can see it rolling right there. See it right here. Okay, but you see it won't work if this isn't already up and held in place. So if this spring's broken, which is just a little tab on the end there, if that's broken, or if it's like we saw, flipped out of place, then it's not going to hold it up properly, so that when you pull, when it comes across, it advances. So this spring being out of place, this spring being broken or out of place, and just lack of lubrication.
Obviously, for this one to get back in service, it would need considerable attention. We need to repair that broken mount,
Right there.
restore the spring, clean it up, remove as much rust as possible, and lubricate.
Yes, but what we're probably going to do is hold on to this one, since it does have a crack in the casing. Let me see, where's our crack?
This will probably
Right there.
be used for parts.
Yeah, there's a crack, there's a crack. And what happens is most of these is these little fingers where it's supposed to lock into the guide rail break off. So we may hang on to this and repair these cracks, because this is a very valuable piece, and then save these inner workings for spare parts. Now let's talk about taking this apart by reassembling. Now, the end closest to the camera person now is the easy end. It just slips right into the casing. This is the end that's very difficult, because we have to feed this up through here, and I'll get my little screwdriver right there. We have to feed the white piece up through here.
The biggest square opening.
Right. And it actually sits on top of this, so it's kind of got to go back and come forward. And this little guy has to come up through that hole. And if you'll notice, there's a notch right there that we have to get around without breaking any plastic whatsoever. And I will also point out, this metal end right here has to go into this track. You can see the grease, the yellow grease on the track. So all of this has to go at the same time. I will attempt to show you so that you can see what I'm doing. All right, let me point out what we're doing. This is the metal shaft right there. This is its track it has to go into. That's our first step. Now, it doesn't want to push in at this point, because, I'm going to try to tilt it up, you see our actuator doesn't want to come around. So what I'm going to do is reach in and tilt it down just a little bit. Did you see that on the camera? All right, and if you'll notice, see how this end has cantered out of the way? All right, so that's what you got to do. You got to kind of put it in at an angle this way.
Difficult end first.
Right, work on the difficult end first. All right, now we should be able to slide up. Is everybody working? No. See, this guy's
It didn't come through.
did not come through. Oop, 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 oop. Oh, I will say that, let me start over on one thing. This lock tab right here pops into that hole. And if you'll notice, you have to flex the sides over the top. There's one on this end too. So a little bit of pressure with my thumb here.
Gently.
Lifting, okay. Now, that should let us get right back where we want to be. And we make sure...
Now this one is not going to work right now.
Right.
Because that wire spring is not properly installed.
Right, and you'll notice, see how this side is still bowed. All right, we see this side is still bowed out. The problem is, now, the tab is not in the hole. So what we're going to do is press a little bit, wiggle it. I usually hold it up close where I can see.
Yeah, he did it first to his chest and we missed it, so we're doing it again.
Right, but you see I had to move it that way and that way at the same time. But now you can see the side actually sticks over a little bit. We go around...
The seam is nice and tight again.
And we see the same thing on this side.
Now I'm going to get in real close so you can see what he means by stick over. I think he means the white makes a lip beyond the black portion.
Right, the white part extends beyond the surface of the black, but when it's not in place, let me offset it for just a second. See, when you're trying to take it out, now they look like they're lined up. But that's
once
improper.
they are seated correctly, they're no longer perfectly lined.
It just popped into place, and that's how you can tell, because this surface shows against the black.
Okay.
To see if we're properly assembled, which we know this won't work because the spring is gone, but we're going to go through the procedure. You lift this lever, pushes
The
these
teeth
fingers,
drop down.
yeah, this comes up in locks, and now this is raised up, ready to advance. So we did it right.